Welcome to the Brooklyn with Pooch and Colin. My name is Colin Helwig from NetsDaily. Today we are doing episode number 39 of the podcast, and this is our first one of the 2026 offseason for the Brooklyn Nets. Playoffs are in full swing right now. If you are a Nets fan drinking the Haterade, it's kind of been a mixed bag of a playoff so far. We saw the Death Star get blown up yesterday. The Boston Celtics are donezo, even though they had this crazy, gap year that wasn't a gap year. Maybe it was a gap year all along, but they are out of it. We're going to watch New York play the Sixers next week, which should be a super fun and exciting series. And we old friend James Harden is still he's got Game 7 that is actually starting very soon from when we're recording this. So we'll have to see what happens there. However, today, right now, Lucas Kaplan is with me. Lucas is one of our guys at NetsDaily. You definitely know him. He is a frequent guest on the pod. Lucas, how are you doing, my friend? How much have you enjoyed the playoffs so far? What are you thinking?
I just want to be clear. We're all rooting for Philly in that matchup. I know there's a lot of maybe some fans from South Jersey. Maybe there's a little Philly-New Jersey rivalry. I get it, but we're rooting for Philly in that matchup, just as we did in the Celtics matchup. I'm having a great old time, dude. WNBA starting playoffs on. I'm like a pig in slop. It's been great.
Yeah. I had if you're gonna talk to a Philly hater, then I'm the guy for that. Like, my story. My dad is a Jersey guy, so I was raised to be a New York sports fan, but grew up in Pennsylvania in the Allentown area,
Yeah.
which is very much Giants enemy territory. So I have never. I hate the Philadelphia Eagles more than any other franchise in sports. It's just like my first ever football game. I was 5 years old. A bunch of grown men dumped a beer on me and threw a burger in my face because I wore a Jeremy Shockey jersey to the link, and I haven't been back since, and I don't intend to go back since. But there was something about what's
the
up?
Eagles are exempt. The Eagles are exempt. The Eagles are disgusting, and the Eagles, and even the Phillies. I get it. I feel like the Sixers. I don't know. I'm more willing to give a little bit of grace.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There's something about them this year, like where they've been beaten, they've been tarred and feathered and dragged through the streets and made fun of. And Joel Embiid is, he's getting an appendicitis right before the playoffs, and he's always getting hurt. And Paul George has just been okay, if I don't watch basketball, like him and Rudy Gobert are the two these are great Hall of Fame players, but everyone just likes to talk about them like they suck, like they make a joke out of them. This redemption arc that they could go on, I would be. I'm here for it. I was super glad when they won last night.
Yeah, maybe they're the first team that just needs to get healthy and peak at the right time to actually get healthy and peak at the right time. It would be quite a Philly way to win.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got Trendon Watford. He is there. I don't see it. I did not see him play too much in this series. However, there are some other Nets still kicking around in the playoffs. We hinted at the Cavs. James Harden, Mikal Bridges, Jared Allen, Cam Johnson is done now. To kind of get us some, Nets playoff content, I kind of want to go through those guys. Let's just kind of check in with them. Lucas, from what you've seen out of the Cavs this year, what have your initial thoughts on James Harden's playoff run been so far with the Cavs? Could end today, could go on. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm really hoping it goes on. I'm the resident James Harden apologist in our little community. I think he's been fine, honestly. There are some possessions where you can just tell he doesn't have the juice to get by Scotty Barnes or Colin Murray-Boyles anymore. But he has really been fine and essentially what they asked for when they traded him. He's held up much better on defense than Garland has in the past few playoffs. They switch him, he battles. He's competent on that end. He's shooting almost 40% from three on 7 a game. What is he averaging? Seven assists to 4 turnovers, which is probably
Sounds
too
about
high.
right.
What is he averaging? Yeah. So, the problem, and they're also winning his minutes. The problem is that they're just getting killed in all the other minutes. Donovan has been really bad. Everyone said it. I'm sure you don't need me to say it again. I like Donovan, but They're probably gonna lose when James has like 16, 8, and 6 tonight, and Donovan goes 5 for 21. And all I'll have to hear for the next week is people talking about, well, how could you trust a James Harden team? And it'll be designed just for me to lose my mind. But them's the breaks.
Yeah, I was sitting with a friend watching them on Friday, and he said to me, he's like, James Harden, he's just not a winning player. And I was like, he so is, and he also so isn't. Like with the turnovers have been tough, and he has been better at defense,
Yeah.
but you can see like the theme of this playoffs very much has been the teams like are who are playing well defensively. No one can shoot right now, and no one can make a shot. And, like James can create so much for himself and others. Like that Toronto game with I mean, I'm gonna try not to talk about the Scotty Barnes game winner, but like the Dean Wade, I mean, James is just creating open three for him time after time down the stretch of that game, and you setting that up is the hard thing to do. Like, and making the shots hard too, but you got to finish it off, and like it's a make or miss league, and that's basketball. But like he doesn't get credit for all that he does set up, and that's that kind of stuff matters. So
Do you think
yeah,
that
we've
Nets fans are gonna enjoy us just talking about how James Harden is underrated? Do you think that'll really brighten a lot of Nets fans' days?
Dude, I can't think that Nets fans hate James too much. Like, it was so
They do,
quick.
man.
Like, he wasn't
They
cheer for
do.
you to, like, grab onto him, at least in my opinion.
I agree.
I mean, I
I
know that
agree. I mean,
he left the team and he blew up the big 3. I know yeah, he's not a liked guy in the Nets community, but I don't know. I don't harbor much hatred for him
yeah,
despite all
I
that.
don't either. His sort of his tenure was such a flashpoint as part of a longer cascading pile of crap.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah.
And then
I know
who else did you mention among the former
yeah, I
Nets?
was
Who do you want to get
gonna
to
let's move
next?
on. Yeah, let's move on to Mikal Bridges, another guy Nets fans seem to have strange opinions about. How have you seen his playoffs go so far? What are your
I
thoughts
was
there?
feeling bad for him. I was like actually genuinely feeling like, listen, like I don't know, when he had a bagel in game 3, and like, or maybe it was like 2 points in game 3 and a bagel in game 4. I mean, it's like it feels gratuitous almost, you know? It's one thing for him to like miss a shot at the buzzer at the end of game 2, right?
Yeah,
It's like, okay. I get a little perverse joy from that, but I rarely is a hate watch so like obviously and extremely and laughably successful that I mean I felt a little bad for the guy. I'm happy he had a little bit of a moment in Game 6 and they destroyed the Hawks. Listen, I'm no Knicks apologist, but they were the better team. I'm glad they're moving on, and I'm glad he had a little moment. I like listen. The trade has been. It is what it is. I feel like in everyone's mind, it is fully cemented as all of this surplus value the Nets got is clearly the right move. It hamstrung the Knicks moving forward. Yeah, the picks that the Nets get from it might not be great, but like we're here where we're at. I don't need Mikhail to go 0 of 18 every playoff game and get dunked on all the time. I think we're doing just fine. But I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit soft in my old age.
yeah. No, I live with a lot of Knicks fans, and I can't even tell you how like I have a difficult time speaking with you candidly about basketball if you can't accept the fact that like the Knicks overpaid for Mikal Bridges. This is a fact. Like, and the people like to say like, oh, Mikal and he'll make one play at the end of the game. It's like, well, it was f them picks, f them picks. No, it was an overpay. So yeah, no, it has been a successful hate watch. I do feel he's a guy when he is sad, you can tell. Like, and we saw it a lot that one year in Brooklyn. Like, his face just looks so dejected and his voice is so down. And a lot of like in those interviews when he was, getting benched and stuff. So, human wise, I kind of felt bad for him. But I know Lucas, you and I have talked about this before. Luka Doncic, like totally different scenario, but like you see like old clips of him before, and it's where he's, like attacking the rim and he's, that was never like this athletic specimen, but looked more like an athletic guy making more athletic plays instead of just kind of like the finesse, which is what he relies on now. And you watch him now, and it looks like they're just two totally different players. It's two totally different tapes. That is how I feel about Mikal Bridges, like with his, 20 when he averaged, what was it, 27 or something like that. That the second half, like how aggressive he was. He is so passive with the Knicks. And I understand, you're in a system now with all these, cogs and these very talented players, and you want to play within the offense. But I mean, my goodness, you really do forget he's out there sometimes.
I also just like can't imagine that the toll on his body is not a part of it. I'm just like honest basketball reference right now. Last 5 seasons, 2,800 minutes, 2,900 minutes, 2,800 minutes, 3,000 minutes, 2,700 minutes. And then that's not even including playoff minutes. I just can't imagine that doesn't play into it in some way. Truly impressive as the whole Iron Man streak is. I also think I was talking to a Knicks friend, a friend of mine, a fan the other day, and he was exactly right. Like, listen, they don't really make an effort to involve him in an early offense. They don't really make a organized effort to get him going. But then when he tries to get himself going, it's, a classic McHale shot. It's like a pull up 16-footer. It's a little fading 14-footer. And it's like, we appreciate that you're trying to get yourself going, but also, like, is that the shot right now? And
Yeah.
that kind of weird, murky area is something that again, we're on the outside. I don't watch every Knicks game. I don't take notes. But when you're on the outside looking in, that just feels like something they haven't fully been able to solve.
Yeah.
And yet, they're
Totally.
favored to go to the damn finals. They're probably going to make the finals. So we're the bitter ex-girlfriends in this scenario.
Yeah, that we are. I think a guy we're gonna move on. Kind of his game very much is tied to James Harden. Jared Allen. That's the one that got away. Not no bitter X's over here. What do you liking or seeing out of him so far?
I love my big afro son, dude. I have such a connection to him, as I'm sure we
Mhm.
all do. I don't know. It's like he's a pretty known commodity at this point. Sometimes it hurts to see um, the Raptors play like Scotty at the 5 or something, and then or Mamu at the 5, but then have those guys guard a position down or Mobley. And like there was a play yesterday or game 6 where RJ Barrett was either switched on to Jared Allen or just outright guarding him. And like
Mhm.
2 possessions in a row, there was a contested offensive rebound that JA didn't come down with, and Raptors ball going the other way. And I just always feel like that is the ceiling limiter on his game, where it's like, dude, like I wish the Raptors weren't able to guard you with RJ Barrett and you would just absolutely murk them on the offensive glass. But what is it, year 8, 9 for him at this point? 10? It is kind of what it
In and
is,
up. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I that Cavs offense, it seems like they'll play and then it's like, "Oh, we have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley." And then like they almost forget they're there. And like they do such a good job, like everyone is very like in sync, like, running around out of the pick and roll and like setting up hit, but I still do get a little bit nervous him handling that interior pass like to this day. And to the Raptors credit, they're playing some great defense. But yeah,
I
I
love the little
I, I
bits
hope they
of
finish it off.
PTSD. I love the
Yeah.
little bits of PTSD you have from like anytime he's like taking a hook shot and kind of gets pushed a little, the fact that he doesn't like kind of go sprawling to the floor is I'm
Yeah.
still getting used to it all of these years later.
Yeah. I'll tell you his rim defense. He's had some swats in this series where I was like, "Oh, he's going for it." Like he's not just, contesting and getting in position to get the rebound. But he's really like extended. Yeah. I said it before, I really
Yeah,
hope they win. I like this Cavs team. I think I have a
I do
built-in
too.
like for rooting for, because no one who wants to root for the superstar Warriors. All those years of rooting for the Cavs in the finals, they were just like this kind of like net positive, like good guy like team in my head. That is kind of it's like really never really faded from those years. I'm curious if other people have that, but they're
They
just
also, yeah,
they're a dream
their
team.
t- their team is not that objectionable either. Like, who doesn't like these guys? Like, yeah, I guess the whole James Harden of it can be a divisive guy, but as much as I've been disappointed in Donovan's playoff performance, everyone seems to like him. He's super fun when he has it going. There's smattering of random white guys, the Merrill, Strus, Dean Wade of it all. Like, okay, that's cool, whatever. Mobley, It's fun enough. Everyone likes Jared Allen. Like,
Yeah,
what's not to like? Other than some of how they've been playing, they need to get it done. They need to get it done.
they
I don't
do.
want to see Raptors Magic in the semifinals. Call me an elitist.
No, I don't want to see that either. Someone texted me that, and I was like, I'm not gonna. I will watch it, but I said I'm not gonna watch that, and I watch everything. I don't want that. All right, and our last net we're gonna check in on. He is done. Cam Johnson, Lucas. Just like the late starts, I haven't been able to watch him as much as I would have liked. But I don't know about you. What did you see, and what did you like out of CJ in this shorter playoff run than I think? Credit to the Wolves, but I think a lot of people had Denver. They were my finals pick actually at the beginning of the year. But yeah,
Well,
they're done. What do you think of him?
I have a lot of thoughts about the whole CJ in Denver experience this year.
Yeah,
Um, hey, I mean, he did what a true shooting 57% this year in the playoffs. I mean, he made some shots. It's just like I feel like there was a fundamental misunderstanding of why he was so good in Brooklyn last year, and I've said this to everybody. Like he was so effective based on how much offense they ran for him and how many advantages Jordy Fernandez was able to set up for Cam and having him play off of that. And the advantages would often result in like pretty regimented pick and roll reads. Okay, you're coming off, you know, an away screen or a curl, and then that big is rolling, but it's like, okay, you got the lob over the top. If the low guy helps, you got the skip. Like, and Cam was pretty good about making those reads. And so he wasn't like alpha number one scoring passing, but he'd have a lot of games with like 20 points and 7 assists or like 5 assists because he was just in enough positions, right? And he responded really well to him. But like obviously the offense was set up to kind of hold his hand along the way. And then he gets to
yeah,
Denver, and it's like, yeah, you're in the corner. Like, help us out when you can. Like, occasionally we're going to run 2-man action, but it's just none of what made his season so good in Brooklyn. And then it's like, okay, I get that part of the reason Denver made the trade was for financial flexibility, and we'll see if they can re-sign Peyton Watson this summer. And they could sign, Tim Hardaway and Bruce Brown and Valanciunas and all that last summer. But it's like, I don't get why you made that trade. I know you just wanted to get rid of MPJ, but you sacrificed your last draft pick
yeah.
and you didn't really get the most out of him, I don't know. I know you're not going to change your offense, right? To
hmm
organize it around Cam Johnson instead of Nikola Jokic. But there still has to
Yeah,
be some sort of like investment to get more out of him, I know that didn't even really answer your question, but like I've just been thinking about that with Denver all year. He was fine in the he did the same shit that he did in the regular season. He made some shots, he was in the corner like at the end of games they would play 2-man and like if the ball got swung to Cam, he would take a shot, but like other than that, he's kind of a bystander. Like he did what he does. Nuggets fans being disappointed in him, I think it was probably more about the infrastructure. Like it was tough to blame him.
yeah.
Yeah, that's my rant.
Is there anything the Brooklyn Nets are better at than turning a forward who's like a starter but not an all-star, setting him up, to build an offense around him and, just making him like have a great season. Like I worded that very poorly, but you know what I'm talking about. These were like exactly what you said and like cuz I mean we saw a lot of with Michael Porter Jr. this year and talked about McHale, like they have a thing for this, that
Dude,
position, that spot, that type of player.
they have an infinite money glitch, and it's funny that it started under Jock Vaughn. Like, what would
Yeah.
McHale have been averaging under Jordy? 35 and 8. Like,
Shit.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I.
More
Hey, do you
picks.
think MPJ's on the team next year?
I do. I just
But not. You don't feel super
Detroit should have
confident about
traded
it.
for him this winter, and they might lose because they didn't. Because their whole offense is just Cade Cunningham, everyone run around him, and it's super stoppable. Um, my gut says he'll stay. I think they really like him, like internally, like it's just kind of like a vibe that I get. I don't know. Like at the end of the day, I also think. I mean, this is the last year I have no idea what the hell like an extension for him would look like, what a nice contract for him would look like because I've said this before. Like this year was the first time he kind of played to the value that he's getting paid at. But even still, I don't think one season is can convince a GM that, oh yeah, I'm going to give you this type of money again. You know what I mean? So I would see,
Yeah.
even if it is for just 1 year. Nah, I mean, what am I talking about? Teams love expiring, but even just making that money fit for 1 year, like the Nets are gonna have to want to like take certain pieces back. I don't know. There's just a lot of moving parts. I feel like there's too many obstacles. What do you think?
Yeah, I talked about it with Eric Slater on Locked On Nets, and we were both like, "All right, 3-2-1. Is MPJ on the team next year?" And I was like, Yes," and I didn't feel great about it. And Eric was like, "No," and didn't feel great about it. I
Mhm.
I don't know. I go back and forth every day. Uh, the yeah, the interesting thing of it all is that he's not going to want to take a pay decrease to make less than $40 million after what he did this year. But it's
Yeah,
also like, who's giving him more than $40 million next year in free agency, right?
not not me. Like I'm
But if
obviously
you're the
not me, but yeah,
Nets, if if you're the Nets and you want to keep him, do you really want to go down that road of, oh yeah, go test the open market? Like, we're not paying you that. Like that, and that just feels like an icky kind of scenario that they would like to
yeah,
avoid. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think nothing would surprise me if he's back, if they trade him. I wouldn't be surprised either way.
gotcha. Yeah, they definitely got a lot to figure out before we move out of kind of the playoff territory. Just kind of in general, Lucas, what has surprised you the most so far about the NBA playoffs this season?
I don't know about surprising, but every year, like playoff basketball, and I was talking about this to my friends last night who aren't huge sports fans, basketball fans, that is.
Yeah,
The NBA now is probably the sport where the playoffs are the most unlike the regular season. Like it's
yeah,
just a different sport. I don't know. Like I know it's such a cliche, but it really is. I feel like you see it more and more. This these days. I mean, it's easy, it's also easy to say that when like every Eastern Conference series went at least 6 games. The number 2 seed lost. The number 1 is in a game 7. The Cavs were huge favorites playing a game 7. But I think that's just my big takeaway. And then obviously under that umbrella, there's a lot of specific things that are different and reasons. But it's just so different, man. It's just a different sport out there.
yeah. No, I totally agree. I feel like there are so many series where I would look at them and I like before the playoffs started and I would pick it and I'd feel like very confident. And it's like a 7 game series. Like you usually expect like upsets happen all the time in singular games, but like you can usually think like really look at okay, the better team is going to win this series and like the Denver one's a bad example because everyone got hurt and Minnesota still won, but I picked Denver, and then after it, I was like, yeah, like Gobert always plays Jokic well, and they have these lengthy defenders, and Jamal Murray. It's kind of been an up and down season, and then it happens, and it's like, oh, I totally see why Minnesota won, and it's the same thing with the Orlando series, like the Magic are now the team because they finally got healthy that everyone expected them to be in the East. This team with like a real puncher's chance of winning the East. Like they're no favorite, but when they're healthy and when they're clicking, that's a good team right there. So I I picked the Pistons losing to the Cavs in the second round because for what I said earlier, like I just don't think their offense is sustainable, and I don't think that's going to get you very far. But I mean, it seems like it could trip them up even earlier than that. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's a totally different game than the regular season.
I mean, I just remember watching Detroit Orlando game 1. Orlando wins, and I just even after watching that game, it's just something clicked. It was like, whoa, okay, like right, playoff basketball, like And the reaction to that game was, it's just a blip for Detroit. Are they going to come out and like smoke them in game 2? I kind of just remember feeling, not to toot my own horn, I remember being like, no, like that was very real, that was very legit, like
Yeah.
got and goddamn, playoff basketball is different. Um,
Yes.
you always get reminded early on, and then we all always kind of forget by the next January.
Yes. That's very true. All right, moving on. The lottery. It's in a week. What are your thoughts on it? But actually, before we kind of just do a final lottery pulse check, new rules, anti tanking rules that will affect the lottery. Seems like everyone kind of agrees that they suck. Lucas, do you think they suck? What are your thoughts on Adam Silver's next great way to fix basketball?
I don't like them, but you know who they help more than any other team maybe is the Nets.
Brooklyn Nets, yeah.
So I'll bite my tongue on this one. Yeah, I don't really like them. I think, I mean, they're not meant to address what the draft and the lottery exists for, right? They exist to filter talent, young talent, to young and bad teams that need them, right? But the solution is trying to address tanking, which is a totally different, obviously related, but a different phenomenon, right?
Hmm.
This is all about tanking, and I think a lot of the pushback, which is valid, is like, wait, okay, but what about why this exists in the first place? How do we make these bad teams better? Especially if you're in a small market, right? So that I think is the big disconnect. That's why I don't like it. It's like it seems
Yeah.
like it's so easy for these bad, especially small market teams, to just be stuck now, right? I mean, yeah, it's easy to say, hey, draft well, hit on the 11th pick, hit on the ninth pick, but I don't I think the draft is already random enough. We don't need to further make it harder for these really bad teams. Sometimes teams are just bad too. There's the conflation of badness and tanking. There was never a bad team before we all started fixating on tanking. So that's where I'm at, but it'll really help the Nets, which is good news for everyone listening to this.
Yeah. No, that definitely works in their favor. I agree. I feel like the NBA has really just lost the plot with this whole thing. Like, what other league is like tanking sucks. It objectively sucks. No one wants to watch a team not play their best players, and it's the NBA. You want all the talent on the court as much as possible. However, like there are going to be bad teams in the NFL. We don't freak out when when the Giants are playing the Jets and like they both want to play their like the quarterbacks they took in the sixth round. Like, you know what I mean? Like baseball, no one even pays attention. Like people aren't watching at that point in like August if you're like the Pittsburgh Pirates because they're already eliminated and like nobody cares. Like to have good teams, you also have to have bad teams. Like that's just nature. You know what I mean? And I think people are just it, I feel like this is maybe more so like a basketball discourse like take, but I feel like the people who are like the most upset about tanking, like it's a very like strong like opinion to have about something that I want to talk about if you like don't like the NBA and you don't like basketball. I think
Yeah,
people who like to like shit on the NBA and say, "Oh, this soft," like you've probably watched like two NBA games this year and you don't like the players, you don't like the product for whatever reason, and you just like to say, "Oh, look how they're doing this." Like, now this kind of happens. Maybe it's not as apparent because basketball there's 10 guys on the court at once, so when the talent disparity, it's really obvious compared to other sports. But this happens in every other league. Like it's
I know.
yeah,
What do I say
often.
that I sorry, go on.
No.
Uh,
I was finishing up. I was just the words I keep coming back to, or say it really does feel like we've lost the plot.
Colin knows that I yell about this all the time in the Nets media room, but it's like I can't stand how insecure and how much they seem to hate their own product, and they constantly bend to the whims of people who hate the NBA. Like for years now, forever. Dude, you
Hmm.
know what you should say to people that are performatively losing their minds over the quality of a Kings Grizzlies game on March 29th?
Don't watch it.
Hey, hey, the playoffs are in 2 weeks. Come back and then tell us our product sucks.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, but that's the other thing. I'm always like, why are you watching this game? And maybe this is a different conversation, but like I even kind of think that there's a place where those games like can't even be useful. And I'll bring it back to when the Nets, a lot of people got mad at me when I said this, when the Nets sat all their guys against the Bucks like 2 years ago, the McHale year when it was like December, but they were in like playoff positioning and they did like a punt game because they had a back to back coming up. And I was like, why don't you make that a game where, the problem is the NBA will never do this because they don't ever want to openly admit that they're tanking or resting guys or for whatever reason. But like, all right, like the good players aren't playing, like knock down the ticket prices and let, Joe Sixpack take his 5-year-old like son and daughter who doesn't even know the difference between LeBron James and, Zaire Williams and like let them get good seats and they can go and, dad took me to the NBA game and, like this is fun. Like it's the same thing with like what I said earlier. Like there's going to be good games and there's going to be bad games. Like you can't just have, Lakers Rockets every single night. Like this has to exist.
Meanwhile, like it's so funny. Meanwhile, I know it's totally different conditions, but meanwhile, it'll be like Titans, Jets, and Monday on NFL Live. Mina Kimes and Dan Orlovsky will be like, yeah, well, it was really interesting that the Titans out of their 3-4 formation were like really blitzing, firing through that B gap, and the left side of the Jets offensive line, and then meanwhile, like the NBA is like, should we take the Sacramento Kings and put them on a plane and fire it into the Bermuda Triangle? Like they dared to lose a basketball game. Anyway, that's the rant obligatory about this topic.
Yeah, so that's our silly little league for sure.
Meanwhile,
Um,
meanwhile, I spend my summer covering like just a dominant star-studded team. So it's quite the change of pace. I'm
yes,
assuming you want to get to a brief bit of Liberty talk.
I do. I do want to get a final pulse check for you on lottery. Then we're gonna get to talk about the libs, but lottery. I know there's no way to know, but how are you feeling?
Oh,
Did you see something yesterday that made you think, there's a connection, or did you, dust off like your lucky knickknacks or whatever you're doing? Just how are you feeling?
I don't even want to think about it. We're recording on Sunday. It's next Sunday. As much into the week that I can get without thinking about it, I'm happy with. Because I already know my stomach will be hurting next Sunday.
I kind of think the Nets not getting a top pick, the Nets not getting a top 3 pick, more so like okay, if they fell back to like 7, if the Nets trailed, if they fell outside the top 5, it's kind of like the thought of like nuclear war. Like it's like so bad that we don't even want to like entertain the thought of it. Like in like the Cold War, to whereas like we couldn't really just like launch missiles everywhere and they launch them back at us and the whole world would end. Like it would truly be like, and it could happen. Like these weapons exist. Like nuclear war is technically possible, but no one does it because we all know it'd be terrible. That's what the Nets dropping back would feel like. Like it could happen, but for them to get their picks back, do the tank, do all this losing, and then not get like a blue chip, oh, it's scary. Like it could that could happen, but you don't even want to convince yourself that it could.
Yeah. I don't want to think about it. I might tune into Net Spaces if they drop to like 6 though or 7. Um, and that is not a sentence I will often say.
That would be a historic spaces, I would imagine.
Yeah. But all
All
right,
right,
gun
yeah,
to your head. Where are they picking? Where are they picking? Quick
3.
answer.
Just feels like 3. Like I can't imagine they're gonna get royally screwed again, but it wouldn't be in the Brooklyn Nets like nature for them to get number 1. That like good things don't happen to this team. We know how this goes. So
I think that is very cool headed of you. I guess um I guess 5.
yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be the good spot where we'll have the mix of people freaking out and the sunshine and rainbow fans. You're like, oh no, like look at Kingston Flemings and like all this stuff. But uh, yeah, I really want AJ. It's a very casual take, but just like watching him, it's like how can you look at that guy and not be like this guy's gonna be sick?
Listen, I mean, they get AJ, they get Boozer, they get Caleb, they get
I
DP.
like Kingston
Gonna be
Flemings
the
a lot too, by the way. But yeah,
and
neither
they
here
get
nor there.
Kingston. You could throw Kingston in that group. Is that the best sub 21-year-old that the Nets have had since I don't know when? Like, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's the bright side. That's the optimistic spin.
Gotcha. All right. Speaking of the bright side, New York Liberty. This is the good team that we cover at Nets Daily. Lucas, especially him and Brian do a great job. Their season starts in a couple days too. Lucas, just kind of take us through your thought process going into the season, especially with the new coach. Like what's going to be new about the Liberty this year?
Yeah, I mean, you've heard it all preseason, all training camp that their offense is going to be totally revamped. We're actually recording this right before their second preseason game. Um, but I think it's just going to be a process of getting this like insanely mega talented team to play within a conceptual offense. And it's going to take time, and there might be some ugly games at first, but it certainly is a bet that they will put it all together by midseason, end of season, and that ultimately this will be the best way to maximize their talent. But I'm very curious to see how the short-term returns are. Like, if the roster shows that they should just be smoking early teams, their schedule early on looks pretty light. Just the names on the paper suggest they should be winning these games by like 30 points. And then it's probably not going to happen. How does offense look? Like, there's just going to be some interesting dynamics to the start of their season. But, at the same time, they are so, so talented.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of that talent, Niara was obviously the big offseason acquisition. And I know, like 3 players are obviously more important than just one player, but kind of like, if you were to like reduce it, like just look at the 2 moves and even like within the context of understanding that, like, yeah, 3 is bigger than 1. But, bringing back Sabrina, bringing back John Kell, bringing back Stewie, which do you think was more important, like getting Niara or, bringing those 3 people back?
Um, yeah, it's keeping the core intact. I think Satu Sabali, Niara's sister, is going to be hugely, I mean, hugely important, but also really thrive in New York.
Yeah.
She's just gonna eat off so many closeouts and ball swings, and she's a great catch and shoot 3-point shooter. But yeah, the Sabrina Stewie JJ core just makes everything else possible, and like finding out how to maximize those 3 very unique talents, especially like Stewie Jonquel front court being that massive and that skilled, is such a rarity in pro basketball history. Like, I'm not sure how many peers they have as a front court in terms of being that big and that skilled all over the court. Like, this is how people often describe the Hakeem, Ralph Sampson, 80s Rockets front court. Like, dribbling, passing, shooting, screening, bringing the ball up, switching on defense, playing drop. Like, they can really do it all. And there's just so much to get out of that. And then you obviously add in Sabrina's shooting and passing. That is really what makes the whole thing tick. That being said, the fact that they have this great roster now with a new salary cap, and it's a hard cap in the WNBA, the fact that they also do have low cost contributors, it's so much talent, but it all revolves around those 3. And so yeah, that's the core of the team will be the same. And when you look at the players and the faces, but the Liberty do hope to feel and play different this year, and that's why they have a new head coach, and Chris DeMarco.
Gotcha. So they sick team, new coach, great stadium that they're going to play in. They have the best odds to win it all this year. What do you think would stop them? Whether it's like a team or, functionality, like, is there anything? I don't want to, doom and gloom before the season's already started, but if you are going to be concerned, if there is going to be something that gives them trouble this year, what do you think is going to be?
Well, last year injuries really killed them. I just do think it'll be a combination of injury and listen, they really want to play a free-flowing brand of basketball where everyone handles and can occupy all 5 spots on the floor. That being said, there's not a ton of ball handling on the roster. Like, when you think primary ball handling, they have Pauline Astier, who has never played in the WNBA, as their nominal backup point guard right now. Benai Hamilton is coming off a whole missed year because of knee surgery. She's kind of like a bigger initiator. But outside of Sabrina, like, where's the ball handling? And they don't want that to matter, but you can imagine in a playoff setting that the lack of primary ball handling might hurt them.
Yeah.
And then, they have some late arrivals to camp because of overseas commitments, and they're installing a new offense, and the games start coming quickly. And so there does feel like a plausible scenario, especially with 1 or 2 unfortunate injuries, knock on wood, where it just never really gets off the ground. Where they're constantly playing catch up, where you look up and it's August and they're like, "Oh, we just need to get a little healthy and
Yeah.
and we'll have it all figured out." And that's kind of what happened to them last year. And they obviously have a new coaching staff and style of play to avoid that, but it's easy to imagine a scenario in which that happens again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
I mean,
not
tying it
easy,
all together.
maybe it's not likely, but it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the shorter, run track time they have, to get these players in the building meshing together is shorter. So that's something I think a lot of people will underrate tying it all together. We saw the Nets struggle with that, and injuries too, with years of that, and they had a longer offseason, 82 game season, all that stuff. You got to make the talent mesh. Yeah, we will be watching, and I'm wishing them good luck though, regardless. Lucas though. Give us who do you think this year for the Liberty? Sorry, I'm doing a very bad job queuing this up. MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and Most Improved Player for the Liberty this year. Who's winning those awards?
Hmm. It's always tough to pick anyone but Brianna Stewart as MVP of the team,
Really?
kind
I
of
thought you
making
were
the
going
whole
with
thing
Jonkel.
sing. Yeah, I love JJ, and she is a Finals MVP, and she is also just, her skills being that big at the center position are like unimaginably important. But MVP, I'm just gonna default to Brianna Stewart. MIP, hmm. I I I I would like to say actually Sabrina. I mean, Benija, comeback player of the year. She missed the whole season. Um,
Yeah,
I would just, Sabrina, I always say this, one of the best shooters in the world, shot under 30% from three last year. So many tough looks. A lot of times it felt like the offense got bogged down into her doing, too much ball handling from a standstill. I think if all goes right, she just has a much easier time finding her offense in the flow, and that leads to a much better season from her. Now, perception wise, I don't think she'll suddenly go from all WNBA candidate to MVP. I think people all
yeah,
put a lot of respect on her name already, but I'm expecting a better season from her. And then, did you ask about defensive player of the year?
I did. Yeah, who you
Gotta go.
got?
I gotta go. Stewie again. She's just a unicorn on both ends. I don't want to seem like that's John Quell disrespect, but that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, no, those are good picks. This is a team where when we do this for the Nets, it's always like, all right, it could really be like anyone because
Yeah.
like the talent, like it's just not there. It's kind of similar with the Liberty, except it's because they just have this bevy of talented star players. There's a lot of different girls that could be contending for a lot of different spots there. So yeah, I think I'm excited. I know you're excited. I think the people are excited after a tanking season, back to back tanking season, to watch some winning hoops at the Barclays Center.
Yeah. Hey, it's nice to have stars on your team. It makes these questions a little bit easier.
Yes, yes, very much so. All right, so that's all we have for you guys today. Lucas, thanks for coming on, man. Always a pleasure having you here. I know everyone knows where they can find you, but why don't you, for any first time listeners, plug your handles, let everyone know where they can read more of your work, WNBA and our Brooklyn Nets.
Lucas Kaplan on social media, an underscore at the end. Google my name, Lucas Kaplan Nets, Lucas Kaplan Liberty. You'll find all my stuff. In addition to all the work being on NetsDaily, I have a Substack these days, as does everyone, where I talk about some nerdier, wider ranging WNBA things. But yeah, yeah, that's my name, Lucas Kaplan. You'll figure it out all. I trust our smart listeners.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, check Lucas out. Check us out. We are the Brooklyn Pod on X, Instagram, TikTok. If you want to email us, we are the Brooklyn Pod at gmail.com. Good news, Pooch is working his way back. I'm sure you guys saw him tweet a couple weeks ago, so we're hoping to get him back on the pod very soon. And yeah, try to stay alive, everyone, until the lottery comes. And we'll be back with a post-lottery episode, maybe a little bit sooner too. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, take care, Brooklyn. Have a good one.
Peace.